Hey everyone, Willie here. Welcome to episode 14 of the Not So Silent podcast. As always, my two ghostly, apparitional, can't be blocked by Faraday cage, physical embodiments of friends, Ryane and Jinxie.
That was a weird description of us.
I'm not
there.
that white.
I probably am. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm in California, but you're still not getting tan.
Oh God, no! I just bathe in sunblock every day.
She burns. She doesn't tan.
Yeah. What is this tan you speak of?
But yeah, we're here talking about Before the Flood, as always, just so everyone remembers, in case you're not familiar. We will talk about and spoil anything that's happened in this episode, so if you haven't seen it yet, you probably want to do that. You might want to do that. I'm not going to force you to do that, but it's probably... You'll
don't
know,
get mad at us.
Yeah, don't get mad at us if we spoil anything, and you'll have more of an idea of what we're talking about if you've watched the episode first.
Speaking of spoilers, I think I left a yogurt in the fridge that has now gone bad. Damn. It's going to be delicious. Anyway.
Don't eat that.
No.
Yeah, don't eat that.
It was going to. Now it's not. But
that's what that's what River was actually always talking about when she said spoilers, was the doctor just kept forgetting yogurt in the fridge.
I knew it. I knew there's something else to that statement. It just couldn't have been spoilers.
That's the layers. That's
the onions.
That's the episode deconstructed. So Before the Flood, we got our second half of another. We've had two-parters back to back this season, which is an interesting. I don't know. That's an interesting way to kick off a season.
Well, this whole season is two-parters, pretty much.
Wait, really?
Much.
Oh.
I think Gatson has the only single part.
Oh, that's interesting.
But yeah, no.
That's exciting.
I mean, especially when they're 10. When there's 10 episodes, you're kind of looking at. Now you're looking at 5. Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's getting closer to the way Old Who ran with serials and all of that.
Oh, I was gonna say, I wonder if it's Sherlock rubbing off on Moffat.
On Doctor Who, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that he's like, oh man, he's like, I can tell fun stories if I get to spend, an hour and a half, 40 minutes on one story. So why don't I just do that with Doctor Who and then split it in the middle and call it a day?
Well, I guess my first comment, very directly related to all that, is it definitely took me a few minutes of the beginning of the episode of confusion, being like, wait, this is a two-parter, right? Like, what is happening right now? Because it was such a weird little jump. Talking about Beethoven and rocking out. Though obviously by the end that made sense, but just throwing it out of context into the beginning of the episode was very confusing for me.
Yeah, and it was weird because I don't think I liked how totally wall-breaking it was. Like, I think we're supposed to come away from the episode afterwards being like, oh, he must have been talking to Clara when he gave that speech. But...
Or anyone else aboard the TARDIS.
Yeah, I mean, Clara was the only one aboard the TARDIS at the end, it was only Clara when he brought the Beethoven thing back up. But yeah, it was kind of a jarring way to kick things off, especially when it's following the cliffhanger from the Doctor last week with the last time we see him.
Ghost Doctor.
Yeah, it's Ghost Doctor.
To like Rockstar Doctor again. It was like, wait, how did we get here?
Yeah, and now, I don't know. I feel like they're getting diminishing returns on Rockstar Doctor.
No.
Like, it was a cool... Yeah, no, diminishing returns. Definitely diminishing returns.
So,
Go ahead.
So you
have a boner for Rock Doctor.
Yeah, I do.
You have guitar goggles, Jinxie.
Guitar goggles. I do not have guitar goggles. I have Sonic.
You have guitar goggles.
I have Sonic glasses. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean
which I'm over them, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm done.
There. I mean, the interesting thing is I was reading, when we got into the whole discussion about the sonic screwdriver, I was reading a couple articles that were talking about it and how, they kind of try to use it last because it essentially can get the Doctor out of any situation. And that's kind of one of the things that they could have used this as an opportunity to fix with the sonic sunglasses, is make them less story-breaking and impervious to anything. And instead, they've now made it even more powerful. They
have not made it more powerful. Just go back and watch an episode of any other season, and then say, "Wow, he's using the sonic screwdriver for literally everything," and then tell me that these are.
Well, yeah, okay, maybe not more powerful, but it doesn't.
They're as powerful.
It's as powerful.
Yeah, but I feel like that's going to happen. That's inherent to the plot device. That's what the screwdriver was initially conceived as, was a way to forward the plot in the face of adversity. And they actually destroyed the screwdriver for a good chunk of time because it was seen as a writer's crutch, and they wanted to get away from that. So it's because the screwdriver, anything sonic pretty much at this point there is going to break the story in that way.
But this is an opportunity for them to have a new sonic thing that's not quite as story breaking.
But it's the exact same thing, only in sunglasses. So I don't think that it actually is an opportunity.
I mean, I don't know.
If he all of a sudden had a stick of wood, I think that would open up the channels for some interesting writing. But
what do you mean open up the channels?
I meant like it would give opportunities if you just had a plain stick of wood versus a sonic screwdriver. That would change. Just having a different sonic device.
For some reason, that got jarbled in my head, and I imagined him like controlling a TV with a stick of wood.
So a wand?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, now we're going.
Expelliarmus.
Yeah.
And Ryane kills.
But anyways, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, Jinxie, you had something you wanted to say about Rock Doc. Rock Doc, I'm corny in Rock Doc phrase.
Or no, it's Doctor Who. Doctor Who.
Ooh, no, that's bad.
Anyway, so
you got vetoed.
I'll come up with something else. I'll figure it out. But Drock Doctor. No. Anyway, I kind of like the opening and breaking the fourth wall because he did that with Listen too. Only this time we're left to assume that it's Clara he's talking to and not some weird hiding space alien thingy. But I don't know. One quick side note, it was actually, the amp was by Magpie Electronics, which is the running like joke company from the previous episodes, which was kind of cool.
Huh.
That
was cool for them to bring it back.
Yeah, and but no,
Magpie's a type of corvid.
I mean, I think the thing that I liked least about the whole intro was, so with any TV show, there's a certain relationship with the audience, and Doctor Who is a sci-fi show, and just for the merits of it being Doctor Who, has a very unique relationship with its audience, and the fact that I'm not saying that I thought Doctor Who was necessarily talking down when he started talking about the what was it, the Bootstrap paradox.
Yep.
But I just thought that and combined with what we'll talk about with the ending of the episode is very, very lazy writing when instead of even attempting to explain the Bootstrap paradox, it was just Google it. Like, I'm not, like, literally pause your TVs and Google it because we're not going to try to explain this to you.
Well, you can Google it in the time of a commercial break.
Well, okay, so yeah, but still, like, to me, that is just such a weird, odd, startling thing for a show to do to its audience. To just be like, hey, we're not even going to bother trying to explain this concept that's pretty central to this episode.
But he did explain it.
No, he explained. He
explained through example.
No, but he never really explained what happened. He was just like, "What the fuck is this? Like, this is confusing. Like, be confused."
What? No.
Confused. Yeah.
Well, then you need to. I don't know how. I wasn't confused at all. He gave a perfect example of a bootstrap paradox, then called it what it was, so that everyone had a name for it, and then proceeded within the episode to show another example of a bootstrap paradox.
Yeah, but explains neither of them.
I think he explained it fine with the Beethoven.
He explained what it was really well, but he didn't explain, like,
how they can how it functions within this universe.
Yeah, like how it's sort of
What?
I'm sort of playing Willie's advocate here at this time. This didn't give me nearly as much issue as it gave Willie. Like, this was the point in the episode at the end when they were like, so nobody came up, like, who came up with the idea? When did I generate this idea? Because I did it because I knew I had done it. Like, it's this self-repeating, like, time cycle, which is the things Willie hates the most in the world.
Right, but that's the exact premise of a bootstrap paradox.
Exactly, but the idea had to come from somewhere. But the idea had to come from somewhere.
No, that's the point. That's what a bootstrap paradox is. You have to accept the paradox.
No, but that's fine, but you can't base an episode of television around that.
It's
and
Doctor
not have
Who. It has done it before, and just because it's calling it what it is
bad.
Now.
Yeah, but just because it's calling it what it is not an excuse for bad writing. And if they don't, it is bad writing. They don't have an answer for how this entire chain of events happened.
That's the point.
But the
paradox.
But the point can't be we don't know how this happened. Then there's no story.
But then
there's
no
nothing
bootstrap
there.
paradox.
Then it's just masturbation. It's literally the Doctor running around jacking off for an entire episode, going, "Oh, this is something that's happening." Like, none of it matters because nothing happened.
I don't think basing an entire episode on the concept of a bootstrap paradox is lazy writing.
Feisty.
No, but so normally with Doctor Who, we come out of an episode saying, okay, like the Doctor was really smart and put this all together, or something. And all this episode, this entire 2 episodes they spent, all this episode demonstrated is, sometimes things happen. Like, that was we literally watched 2 40-minute episodes, and the entire arc through this episode was we can't explain what happened, we just thought this was a cool idea. That is literally the definition of lazy storytelling.
Did you have trouble with the Pandorica?
It's almost as bad.
Because this is
literally
bad the exact same thing
as saying everything was a dream. They might as well have just said everything was a dream at the end of the episode.
Do you remember the 11th Doctor with the Pandorica?
You're going to have to tell me, don't give me the name of the episode, tell me what happened. I don't have all the names.
He escapes the Pandorica because he escaped the Pandorica. And Amy was in the Pandorica.
Yeah,
that's a bootstrap paradox.
Yeah, it's dumb.
He's done it multiple times. This is a very repeated concept in the show because it's also a very fundamental concept of time travel. So if you're going to take issue with this, I feel like you're taking issue with a lot of Doctor Who. Which is fine.
Which I do.
Which is fine.
Which I do.
I don't.
But like I said, it's different when I feel like even if I don't always accept how they try to explain something, I feel like they always at least try to explain it. And this season, these 4 episodes, they have thrown that all out the window, and they're literally going, we're not even trying anymore. Like, we're not even gonna try to make this make sense in this universe. We're just gonna have shit happen. I mean, they've said that. Missy's came back, and they're just. They did eventually explain it, but they told us they weren't going to, and the Doctor has said that with several things. He's just like, just accept it. This is what it is. And when he first said that, I was like, if this is going to be a tonal shift for the season, I'm gonna have a problem with that, and I
think you're over exaggerating.
So. It
is happening a lot more.
It is happening. They're not even trying to explain stuff.
I really don't think
they're just like, this is what it is. I mean, if you were to try to sum up the point of this whole episode, what would these 2 episodes? What would it be? What happened?
What I would sum up.
What did we learn about Clara and the Doctor? What did we learn about anything?
Well, there's a lot of character development with Clara. We see how much Danny's death is affecting her. We didn't get to see that much in the first 2 because of all the action. So it's very her-driven, seeing how broken she really is. The Doctor we see still growing. I don't know how, but he is. He's turning more into like what you said, the Rock Doctor. He's kind of getting that shift going. We see development in the sub-characters. We saw the Fisher King
the sub-characters were awful. Fisher King was the only...
There was a lot of interesting concepts in the show that I think, or in these episodes, I think you're just blowing past because you don't like the overall premise.
No, they're interesting concepts. That's true, but that's what I'm saying. That's all these 2 episodes was interesting concepts thrown together, but that's not.
I don't think
that doesn't make a good story.
Well woven together.
Okay, let's go piece by piece. Fisher King. Let's start with the Fisher King because he was cool. Because
he was my least favorite bit.
He was cool.
Why?
He looked cool.
He looked cool.
He looked cool. We had a cool. We had a cool new monster. They did not flesh him out nearly as well as they should have. I'm sad that he died. I want him to be around all the time. And I'm also really...
Because he looks weird?
I also am really confused why they called him the Fisher King.
Well, do you know what that's a reference?
Yeah, I mean, it's a Shakespeare thing.
It's from King Arthur. The Fisher King is the keeper of the Holy Grail.
Oh, yeah. Not...
With the concept of how he controls life and death.
Not King Arthur, or not Shakespeare, King Arthur. Yeah. Crap, I should have known that too.
I really liked the idea of infectious words, words that can infect you. That was really cool to me. Mm-hmm. That was my favorite part of him.
Just having.
I mean, I don't know. There was they did a really weird. Like I said, I don't think they did a super good job of implementing him, because I think what they did, I don't know, I think they built up his reveal very similarly to what they did with the Minotaur, and I mean, we kind of talked about that last week. But they kind of monster movied him at the beginning, and I feel like instead, given his...
He was quite Dracula-y.
Well, kind of, but I'm saying instead, I think it would have benefited from having him be on screen more. I don't think they had to, they already had, we didn't see him at all last episode, and then we didn't get to see him much this episode either, because they were kind of, Cloverfielding the whole thing. And I think you could have revealed him earlier and had him been a much more fleshed out and cooler character.
I don't think he was meant to be the main focus of this episode, though. He was the main driver to why everything ended up happening, but I don't think he was the focus.
What would you say? What would you consider the focus?
I would actually consider the focus is his ideological conflict with the Doctor, and you don't really need to flesh out him in order to really understand that.
Yeah. You can just have him as a mirror, and that. See, and I wish they had done one. Also, again, just keeping track here, the season opened up with literally him talking about meeting Beethoven, which was cooler than anything that happened this episode. So, sticking with the theme. 2, yeah, you are probably right about that. His existence is essentially as a foil mirror to the Doctor. I did like his whole. I don't know. It's still. I think that Doctor Who can start to get into these debates about what will the Doctor bend time for and what won't he? But I think the problem they're running into is that he just kind of, up until this point, I feel like he's willy-nilly just done whatever he wanted to. And so it seems it's an interesting step for me now to have him, him talking about not bending time and all that stuff now, is I feel very similar to how Tennant talked about it. But there's been a lot of stuff in between, both with that Tennant did, that he just did whatever the fuck he wanted, and I don't think Matt Smith really was rules of time, whatever. I'm just going to save stuff and do whatever I want. So it's interesting that now they're trying to make this Doctor have a little more of that ethical debate, which I think is more of what the Time Lords initially had, I think. I've silenced the room with my wisdom.
Yeah, we're thinking.
Yes, I am thinking. But I don't know. I see them all as trying to maintain time. I think 11 didn't do it very well, mostly because of River Song's refusal to adhere to it. And Tennant, the only time
he was just backwards.
Yeah, River was weird.
But
River's timeline was just
it's another what do we call it? Oh yes, a bootstrap paradox. That's another one of the what River is.
River? No, she's
whatever she does in the future kind of affects her past, but whatever her past is the Doctor's future. That's kind of a bootstrap paradox.
No, I thought her timeline was just running alternate the Doctors.
Does that really make sense, Will?
No, it doesn't.
Does that not sound like a Bootstrap paradox?
No, because Bootstrap's like you're trapped in the own like circular thing. That also, actually, yeah, let's kind of talk about that. Has that ever happened before, Jinxie?
What?
That the TARDIS just like, because he said he tried to go back to save Clara, and he just couldn't.
The cloister bell sounded, and he just stopped. Yeah,
Well, yeah, because he said he was stuck in his own like time loop or something.
Well, I mean.
And then the TARDIS brought him back like a half hour before. That was all kind of weird too.
Well, it's kind of funny, but kind of weird at the same time. You've seen him use the TARDIS to break the rules of time before, but the TARDIS always seems kind of fickle.
Resistant.
Yeah, and I think this was the TARDIS just finally saying no because the Doctor was about to pull a David Tennant and go back and save someone from Mars when he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So the TARDIS prevented it.
See, this whole episode is just the Water of Mars redone.
Sort of, yeah.
Which I don't really mind because I really like the Water of Mars.
Yeah. That was a very good episode, but I think there's a lot of different concepts at least running through here. But the overall plot theme is sort of pseudo the same.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
On a base, yeah.
I liked a lot of the character development. Like Jinxie was saying, I think they did focus a lot on Clara and her internal struggles with dealing with Danny. She kind of had her first like partial breakdown about it, almost just like you made me like need you, like you're the only thing I have left, kind of hopelessness that she's just been not talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And we also saw her like someone asked her like in the Faraday cage, the captain, is she a captain?
Captain now. That
the deaf lady.
Yep.
Yeah, the captain asked her like, is this what the Doctor does? Like, he trains you to sacrifice other people. And it's, again, Clara becoming the Doctor, sort of being like, I'm just doing what it takes.
I mean, but that's not necessarily anything new for Clara. Like, I feel like Clara becoming the Doctor is something that tracked quite a lot through last season.
Oh, yeah, it's just continuing. And I don't know, I'd have to rewatch the episodes to see if Clara has the habit of putting other people in danger, because the Doctor does that a lot. And I mean, you see him fight with the guilt of it because he knows he does it a lot sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure if we've ever seen Clara do it, even though, like, I don't know, I'm kind of a logic robot, and for everything that we saw and we knew, like, it didn't seem like he was gonna get killed. They didn't seem to be interested in him, so maybe he wasn't in that much danger. But
who?
The interpreter that she sent to go get.
Oh, yeah. Because he didn't read the.
Did anyone else feel weird that O'Donnell's ghost just decided to take the phone?
Yeah.
It seems a little forced.
That didn't.
Like,
yeah,
I'm taking this.
That didn't really make any sense. And I mean, even like of course the Doctor was the one that was in the box, but that also doesn't make any sense because that means he was then locked in that box for like
20 years.
No, it was it was way more than
30. They were in the 80s.
It was. Oh, hold on, I have notes.
Yeah,
I have notes.
But
hold on.
The episode takes place in like 21 or 2200.
Oh, did it?
I have notes. Give me a second.
So he was locked in the
19 AD, and they were in 1980 Scotland. So.
Yeah, so he was in that. So he just sat and waited in that box for.
It's a stasis chamber, so frozen.
Stasis chamber.
Suspended animation chamber.
Frozen, suspended animation. Regardless, that's a long time to take the Doctor off of the map. And just have him like, oh, I'm going to pop back up at this second.
I think that's like, I don't know, I kind of assumed that was sort of like the traveling through space sort of debate. Like, his time wasn't moving. So in his timeline, it was just like a blip, basically.
What do you mean the traveling through space debate?
Like, I don't know, it's a big sci-fi thing that, like, it was talked about in like Ender's Game. I remember it's a big sci-fi sort of shtick that like people that are traveling in space, while they may only be traveling 50 years, it's been like 200 years on Earth, or something.
Yeah.
So I kind of viewed it kind of like that.
Like
his
that.
time is shifting very differently, so it's a very small amount of time for him, even though the world is moving faster.
The one thing I did think was cool, because I can't seem to remember if they've done this before or not. So Jinxie, help me out on this one. Have they ever had two timelines running?
Running
at the same time? Like, they had the Doctor's timeline running with the same...
I mean, you kind of saw that on Father's Day with Rose and Eccleston. Which I thought was really funny because Rose ran out to save her dad, and they were kind of like working on the same timeline that he disappeared in. Bennett was going to go die for O'Donnell, and it looks like the Doctor had gotten better at tackling people who were trying to change time.
No. That's not what I meant. I meant not that they had like the Doctor seeing himself. Yeah, because I remember them doing that before.
That's very Harry Potter.
Yeah. Have they ever had the Doctor and his companions split into two different time zones and have what the Doctor was doing like affecting what was going on in the other zone?
I honestly can't remember. I'm sure it's something in Matt Smith's tenure.
Yeah, because that, I don't know, but that's an interesting concept, and I kind of, it's one you have to be careful with, but it's interesting, and I feel like they could have dug into it more.
So you'd be perfectly fine with two simultaneous timelines interacting with each other to ultimately conclude to one result, but you can't deal with a loop of time.
I mean, that's much different than a loop. That's literally direct cause and effect.
But he's causing himself to do something in a different timeline. How is that not?
What? No, but he doesn't have multiple timelines. He only has one.
But if he's going simultaneously with a different timeline, then he's infecting the previous or the forward timeline. He's got to be interacting and weaving between timelines. No,
I don't want them weaving between them. I want them operating in parallel.
But how do they operate in parallel if they're different timelines?
I mean, they're not.
He's changing the future.
Yeah, he's changing the future while he's in the past. It's not actually happening at the same time. That's just how the show's presenting it. He liked
seeing the past and the future happening simultaneously.
Yeah, but they weren't like.
But even though linearly they are still.
Yeah, they weren't crossing. Order. But the one thing that I did think that was weird about how they set that all up was the Doctor's ghost showed up before O'Donnell's, which I still can't make heads or tails of.
What do you mean?
Because all the ghosts were showing up in order as someone died.
But it wasn't a
and
ghost.
Then
yeah, it was a hologram.
But none of them were ghosts.
Yeah.
They were... No, he said they were all his holograms.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, at the end of the episode...
No, they were souls. And they were stuck in the Faraday cage.
Yeah, but at the end of the episode, he said he sent back multiple ghosts. He clearly was using plural nouns when he was
pretty sure
referring
he
to
didn't
the ghosts.
send ghosts back to kill people. That doesn't seem very Doctor.
No, I mean, he was... Not that... No, but he was... I assumed that O'Donnell and his ghosts were both ones he sent. That's what I was saying. Those two. Not all of them. Those two. But it still doesn't make sense because they were all only showing up as soon as someone died. And O'Donnell showed up as soon as she died in the past, but the Doctors showed up
O'Donnell's actually
before he died in the past.
Should have been in there, theoretically, the way you're thinking about it. O'Donnell's ghost should have been there when the first ghost showed up.
I mean, all of them should have been there when the first ghost showed up, technically.
No, because they were dying in the present, and then their ghosts were happening, the rest of them.
No,
the
but I'm
guy
saying...
we see killed?
Yeah, and then it's happening in the present, but the Doctors and O'Donnell should have been there from the beginning.
Yeah, but the Doctor's wasn't a ghost, so his doesn't really matter. But O'Donnell's,
if you're saying it linearly... Yeah, but he definitely said that he definitely was using the plural, because that's what really confused me. Because he was like, I created these holograms.
No, he only created his.
Oh, that's not what he said.
I'm pretty sure that he didn't say that. Then again, I've only watched the episode 3 times, so I'm not 100% sure.
You're slacking.
I am slacking.
But also that hologram thing I thought was a weird way to, I don't know,
communicate with the future.
Well, that whole thing was just odd. The whole like ending and trying to put things together and then just being like, wow.
I'm sort of in between you two guys on this, I guess. Like, he'd used a hologram before, it made sense to use one again, but like, why make himself a ghosty hologram that can't talk? Why not just project a hologram of himself?
Because he saw himself as a ghost. Therefore, he had to be a ghost in his holographic projection.
Because Bootstrap.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep. These are hard concepts.
See, it's not just me. And I mean, like I said, I think I'm getting less and less like grumpy about it as like the more and more I watch the show. I think I just give it up, but it's still just like it exists and it's frustrating and it's like a thorn. And I thought this was
time makes my head hurt.
Yeah, I mean it always makes my head hurt, but I thought it was especially a thorn this week since they kind of hung the entire concept of the 2 episodes around it.
I thought there was a lot in the episodes to make it not just the overarching theme of a Bootstrap paradox.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, I'm not trying to say that there wasn't other stuff that happened, because there was. I'm just saying the frame. It's like a painting in a frame. Like, you can have a good painting in a shitty frame. I just feel like they chose not a good framework for what they were like trying to accomplish with this episode.
I don't know. I feel like the way
the character development and everything else is still all there, but they just framed it in a way that I felt lessened everything else that was going on because they chose this convoluted, weird frame that they're like, oh, like, we're being clever, but they're not really being clever because the Doctor never really figures anything out.
I don't think that's true.
He doesn't know. He leaves the end of this going, I have no way to explain how those events happened.
No, he does, like, he still generated the idea. He just doesn't know where it originated. Like, it's still originating from him.
But he didn't, but that's the whole point. That's the whole point of, like, the Mozart thing, is he didn't generate the idea. He doesn't know where this, like, generation came from. He doesn't know where the idea came from. No, I know. I understand that's why it's a paradox, but I'm just saying that, like, they could have had the same thing and not wrapped it in all that.
But I think that wrapping the paradox along with the controlling of life and death and also the contrast of controlling time was a very good play on each other. I think it was actually a perfect framework for this type of episode. You had
yeah, I mean it's a show about time travel. Like, not playing with some of these concepts does seem weird. Like, it doesn't bother me that it was all wrapped in this paradox, even though the paradox frustrates me. But that's like what paradoxes do. Like, they're frustrating. So, but the fact that they used it doesn't frustrate me. The fact that it exists and can exist frustrates me.
I mean, but it can't exist in real life.
Yeah, it's paradox.
But it can't exist in a world without time travel. So it can't exist in real life.
But is there a world without time travel?
Fictional. It only exists in fictional universes.
Are you telling me that my time travel in this basement is not real? Because that's not very nice.
I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure it's probably not real.
You are traveling in time a little bit, Jinx, because you're recording this at 4:48 p.m.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, so you're traveling a little backwards in time. But but time is nothing but a construct and an invented idea anyway. So exactly. That's what they really. I think that's how they're going to end Doctor Who, with the idea that time's all made up and that.
Why are you talking about it ending? It's never going to end.
I think you're just going to have the Doctor wake up and it's all going to be a dream, just to make Willie so happy.
Oh no. No, that'd be so mad.
Willie would, like, throw things at the screen.
That's literally the worst of anything.
Writers of Doctor Who, please don't do that, because Willie will break my TV.
Or at least replace it.
Hold on, I had something I was going to say about the... Oh, I did like the quip he made about how this whole regeneration was a clerical error, anyways. Which really, I think, even more so, they're building themselves up for what they're gonna do post Capaldi. And,
which is meh?
Yeah, I mean, they already didn't know what they were gonna do here, and I feel like they can't keep coming up with like Hail Mary answers, like contacting Gallifrey and having them send energy back through time. Like, that can't happen every time the Doctor needs to regenerate.
Well,
like you've got a one-time use.
No, that was the glitch though, because we don't know how many regenerations they sent him, so they can kind of do whatever at this point. I mean, like, they left themselves an open book.
They did leave themselves open, but now he's saying like this regeneration like is an error.
the whole from here on is a glitch. Like, whatever happened.
Maybe.
It's still totally open, I think.
Maybe. I feel like, I don't know, that to me made it more feel like he's now understood that he got one more as a glitch, but that he doesn't know what's going to happen after
he doesn't know. It could be one. It could be 50 more. Like,
well, no, but I think even with this whole focus of life and death and him actually thinking he's actually going to die, I think that was because he doesn't think he has any regenerations left. That was the same thing Matt Smith went through the whole Christmas.
Well, so did David Tennant. He didn't want to go either. I mean, his last words was like, "I don't want to go."
Well, but David Tennant didn't want to go, but he knew he was coming back. Matt Smith didn't think he was.
Are you trying to break my heart tonight?
He had good reason.
Yeah.
That scene makes me cry all the time.
No, he did have good reason, but I'm saying Matt Smith didn't think he was, and now I'm saying I think that Capaldi is acting like he doesn't think he has any more left. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I think it's fair that the Doctor would not know what's next. We as viewers assume they're going to keep the show going. So we assume there's more.
I know that, but I don't know. I feel like the Doctor would know how many lives he has left. I think he could tell.
Aren't the regenerations like? Haven't we discussed this in the past? That the regenerations are like basically a contract. Like, it's not a part of his biology.
What?
Is that right, Jinx?
I think my brain's a little too fried to verify that.
That
but
like
they
have
like something I've heard.
Like, they have 12 or 13 or whatever it is regenerations, like, because they decided that's how many they get.
Maybe, yeah, that sounds about. I mean, if they can give more energy, then I'm sure that's an arbitrary limit. I can't quite remember exactly why.
Yeah, like it seems like that's not part of his biology, so like he wouldn't.
Google.
No.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like he's always known. Like, he knew he had 13. Like, he knew how many he had, and then.
But that probably wasn't like a feeling for him, like a biological sense. It was like a knowledge that this is the energy that Gallifrey has like given him or whatever it is. Because every Time Lord was given that.
So now
if he's counting, then
now they can just say they've given him however many.
Yeah, and he wouldn't know any better.
Yeah.
So now he is going to be like, theoretically, every Doctor from now on should have a bit more of a sense of death because he doesn't know if it's the last one or not. That's my take, at least.
I'm not sure, but yeah, the life and death stuff, Jinxie. I think you want to get into that a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because I think that was what fascinated the Doctor by this whole thing to begin with, was that he's known that there are certain rules that can't be broken, and one of them is when you die, you die. And now he has these ghosts coming back through.
Well, I thought was very interesting, and it kind of plays off this. I don't know if it's going to go off on a tangent. It might, probably will.
Get your shot.
So you had the conflict of, changing time, like the ability to create or destroy based on what you do, and then you have this other alien race who controls life or death, essentially. Like, they can choose to kill you and keep you alive, keep your soul, and keep you living as their, like, whatever they need. And the Doctor saw that as egregious because they're just taking over someone's soul. But I thought what was really interesting is that kind of puts whatever race the Fisher King is, on par with the Time Lords. And even the way he spoke was very like, I know who you are, I know what you guys do, I think you guys are curators of museums, you guys are ridiculous and frumpy. And
Yeah. Yeah, he seemed like an anti-Time Lord, which is why I think he's cool. Did we ever do we know what race he is? So,
did that dude mention it?
Because that was my question, and the only thing was they never really fully connected the dots.
I think they did,
but well, they did. The Trevelyan said like these are the races that have conquested us
I don't think they ever actually specified. You just said this is the fifth king who conquered with his armies until the Arcatinians came and liberated them.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember like what the order was, or if he was like an Arcatilian or.
Actually, can we take a quick step back for a second? Did you feel weirded out by how sexual Prentice's like I have multiple instruments for you to oppress me with was? Any? That was I thought it was funny, but it was like weird, you know.
I was like, oh, I definitely was like, oh, so it's also an S&M thing.
What? What thing?
The
Tivoli.
What do they call it? The race? Mutton chops. The mutton chops dude was like, when he was trying to bargain with the doctor for takeover, he's like, I have many instruments for you to oppress me with.
Oh, I must have, yeah.
Like, it was much more than just like, we're a compliant race. Like, he was much more.
I can sort of understand why he thought that, and this is actually not my joke, but it's someone, I can't remember where I read it. But he's obviously extremely excited about the thought of another invasion because that means more deaths. And since he's a funeral performer or whatever the hell you call him, it's more business for him. So I can see it as like a sales pitch, like you want to come and invade, Can use some more dead bodies.
Yeah, it helps.
More deaths, but they also. I thought it was interesting that they're like. He also like acknowledges that the race is like irritating because he's like, and then they liberated us, and then we annoyed them so much that they took us over again. Like part of their shtick, since they always want to be controlled and taken over, is like we just have to annoy them until they.
I actually thought this was a very interesting take on the Tivolians, because the first time we saw Gibbous, which was the original one, I'm gonna say. He was just like very cowardly and like very kind of conniving in a way. And then we saw Prentice, who is just like this goofy, crazy, like you would never take him seriously because he's just that like dumb. And they're interesting takes on what it means to be like subservient. Does that make sense? You wouldn't see either as a threat, but you wouldn't see either as a threat for different reasons.
Okay, yeah. So they're just different. Because are those the only two of that race we've met? Yeah. I wonder if they have more plans for.
It would be. I think it'd be overdone. Also, I hope I can sidetrack this even more. It's interesting to see the Doctor's dislike of the race in the way. Yeah.
I don't really like them.
But it's funny because what is it? You see Doctor Who and like with the Daleks, and they're like, yeah, we must exterminate everything, and like it's all of the enemies are at very extremes of different ideologies. Where Cybermen are, keep everything uniform. Daleks are exterminate everything that's not the same, and then you have Tivolians who are just like the extreme of subjugation, which isn't something that we as humans usually relate to, but we can as well because we also like to be kind of subjugated in some senses. We like to have a leader.
Some senses, Jinxie, huh?
Yes.
Some senses.
Humans
some senses.
tend to like to have a leader.
Hey. I was thinking they remind me. I don't want to actually say that way. Do you think that the Ood have a bit of that quality? Like they're a very good like serving race, but they're also super powerful and capable on their own. But Like when we first meet the Ood, they're like.
Well,
good
I also think that was they kind of portray that partially because they had their brains removed, but they seem not subservient because of an ideology. More their physiology requires them to be peaceful. But
yeah, that's big.
I don't know if that's
It might be two sides of the same coin, though. Not as like, it's not their ideology, but they are sort of forced to be
potentially subjugated with multiple instruments.
Yeah. With a multitude of instruments. Yeah.
So do we think the Fisher King is dead?
He kind of blew up, didn't he?
Well,
he got washed.
I don't know, but you remember that serpent that I mentioned before? I thought it was kind of cool that it almost looked like the Fisher King. There was a serpent on a mural in the base in Scotland, and you remember how I mentioned how creepy it looked? I wouldn't be surprised if that was their interpretation of the Fisher King, and maybe he lived on as a sea monster. But maybe.
Yo, is he the Loch Ness Monster?
That'd be funny.
Headcanon. Best episode ever.
Now he loves it.
Backstory for the Loch Ness Monster.
Roasted.
Boom.
Sir, I feel like I
don't know, but no, it's good. But what else? We got a little time left. Is there anything else burning anyone's desires to mention, bring up?
I don't remember if I mentioned this before, and it's totally not that relevant, but it was personally very interesting to me for them to incorporate so much sign language. So it was pretty obvious, like Willie said in the first episode, that it was she's going to lip read everything, which, just from my experience with deaf individuals, they took a lot of liberties with the lip reading in this episode of her conversing with Clara.
What about her psychic powers with being able to tell that there was an axe being driven on the floor behind her?
That was a bit extreme. I think what it was trying to depict
her picking up the vibrations of the floor. I understand that.
Just the way they did it.
The way they did it was
visioning.
It's kind of weird.
It was a weird way to do it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go. Let's go to the two. Let's go to the two routes.
It's a hard
thing. You just have her touch the floor and then run away, or do you have to touch the floor and then visually depict, because that's your medium, what she's now experiencing?
I mean, that's fine, but then don't have her Jedi away at just the right second, which is what they did. She was 1 second away from taking an axe to the face.
Yeah,
that is what suspense is, but suspense also has to be grounded in reality. Even for Doctor Who, you can't suspend your disbelief on everything with this.
Well, I don't think that one's that crazy. But it was just...
I mean, they kind of made it
fantastic. So I'm really kind of irritated that they were doing... I'm not irritated, but they were doing British Sign Language, and I don't know anyone who knows it, so I couldn't ask anyone to translate the...
Yeah, I was just going to say that. No, I know American Sign Language, so it was really interesting. I could pick up some things based on what the interpreter was saying, and
which is about 30% of the time, I think,
ASL.
30 to 40.
Yeah, their sign for friends, I sort of figured out by watching what she was doing and hearing the interpretation. But a lot of times they weren't you didn't see her whole phrasing or something. But yeah, it was fun for me to see.
I was actually really sad though, because the only sign language I know from working right next to a technical institute of the deaf is food signs, because I worked in the food court. So it's come on, sign chicken, sign cheese, please.
Yeah.
Well, and Rye actually made an interesting point as to why the TARDIS wasn't translating.
Yeah, I was curious why sign language is another language, and the TARDIS translates language, but it wasn't translated.
Maybe it doesn't know British Sign Language too.
Theoretically, they should be able to understand it, even if they can't. And I guess they end up speaking in other languages a lot, so I guess they could spontaneously sign other languages. But since the episode dealt with like the TARDIS's problem with translating the writing on the wall, I thought it was interesting that they didn't acknowledge that it was not translating.
Well,
British
one
Sign
thing that
Language.
I found very strange is that it's a lot of it doesn't ever seem to pick up like body movement or like body language, and I feel like that's a lot of what sign is.
That's what I said. Yeah,
but I always it is. It definitely is. It's a lot of facial expressions are important and stuff. It's like grammar's in your face basically. It's not just a language, but that's the same with like intonation of languages. Like, but it makes. I guess I had always assumed that the TARDIS was translating in the brain,
the actual
at that
verbal
point of it, not the sensory part. So not that it was like your ears were translating, but that must be what it is. Like if it can't translate sign language, it must be a sensory input translation, like a translation occurring at the ear level instead of at the comprehension level in your frontal lobe. I just got way more sciencey than I intended it to.
Well, and actually, I mean, they still haven't quite ever explained how Clara could read Gallifreyan, have they? With that with her whole weird arc with that.
What?
When she was lost, that was the very first episode I saw. When she was lost in the TARDIS, and there were like the people from the past that were from the TARDIS engines exploding, coming to fight them, and she went into the library and she could read Gallifreyan. And the TARDIS does not translate Gallifreyan, but somehow she knew she was reading Gallifreyan books, and I think the show's never explained it. And they're gonna have to before she dies.
Where else?
She's actually gonna be inducted into the Time Lord Academy when they come back.
Well, I mean, she could be able to read Gallifreyan because she is a Time Lord, because she's actually the Doctor, which I still think that's what they're building to. Is they're gonna be like, oh, Capaldi was actually the companion and Jenna was the Doctor, but the Doctor. Yep, they started toying with that idea last season.
Yeah, they played with you.
They're playing. No, they're not done playing. That was just the beginning. That was just the teasing.
Yeah, you were so gung-ho when they listed her name first.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Speaking of the intro, wasn't the Rockstar intro for this awesome?
The rock intro? I did kind of like that.
Yeah, it was nice.
Going into the theme song.
I don't know, I guess I diminishing returns on Rock Doc. I'm not.
Rock That's exactly what I said.
Ooh, Rockter. Rockter.
Oh, you
how dare you.
That's what he said.
Wait, you said Rockter?
Yeah.
No, I thought you said
Rockter and Rockter.
He might have said Drockter.
And androgynous doctor.
Oh, no, you said Drockter. And Rockter
so
isn't that good either, because it makes me think of like a proctologist.
Rockter who?
Proctologist who?
And a doctor doesn't make you think of a doctor?
No, nope, it doesn't. Also, anyways, I came up with a really funny, this is a totally side tangent, and then we have to wrap up in a second here, but I want to mention this. So I came up with an awesome idea the other day, or yesterday, that was like a parody of Doctor Who, that he's just a guy in a van that's painted like the TARDIS, and he's really just been going around abducting girls, telling them that like he's the Doctor. Because I told Ryan, I was like, if Tennant just showed up at the door with like a time, like with a time van, she'd jump in and she'd be like, oh well, this is just what shape the TARDIS has taken this week, whatever.
I mean, if it was David Tennant, I absolutely would.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think it's funny how that whole thread has kind of never been commented on, that the Doctor, at least in Modern Who, runs around and abducts attractive women. And so I think that's kind of funny. But side note. So I'm gonna work on a Doctor Who parody. But you never know, because he could.
I know, but
he always says, "I know I'm the Doctor. I just regenerated."
No, I would need proof.
He could pull out his sonic screwdriver.
If it was Tennant, he could tell me anything, and I'd go out the door with him.
Yeah, his sonic sunglasses. I'm not going to talk anymore about that, because I already said that I thought that whole ending and the sunglasses going into the machine and all that was goofy. But. Anyways, before we talk about the preview for next week, Jinxie, I think we've got time.
Well, I just want to make a quick note. I paused because you know how Prentice handed out business cards? It was really funny. There was really fine print that said, "May the remorse be with you," and I just thought it was funny. But Yes, they're doing very well this season. I must say, with the Magpie electronics and all of this. But
yeah, the cards were pretty funny.
The what?
The
cards.
I thought that this was a very interesting subject.
Okay, look.
So Willie's main issue with the fact that we have no idea who originated the paradox, because it's a paradox. What if time itself originated it, like it sort of did, and the list that the doctor is saying is actually the order that everyone is still going to die. So Claire's up next.
Oh.
And then the doctor, and then Bennett dies some other time, but...
Ooh.
You just made Willie really happy.
Okay. Well, no, okay. Kind of.
Okay.
I don't like the idea that time generates ideas, but I do like the idea that the list is actually accurate.
That was just
Oh, that's cool. No, I like that. I hope you're right on that one, Jinxie, and that somehow ties in. But yeah, I mean, yeah, they're definitely. I mean, they're setting up Clara's death already. Like, she's already like, don't leave. Like, he's like. But yeah, I also, for what it's worth, I know this was last week, but I still think it's weird that his answer was, I'm gonna jump back in time and try to fix this instead of trying to fix it in the present, because I feel like.
He normally refuses.
Refuses to do that.
He wasn't going back to change things. He was going back to learn. He's going back to learn what went on.
No. I know that, but I'm saying normally his answer is, I'm going to fix the problem right here and not leave the companion alone. And instead he was like, peace, I'm going to leave you. Don't worry, don't die. I'll be right back. That's what I'm saying.
And the TARDIS was already having issues going towards the ghost.
They're always trapped. Why couldn't he just use the sunglasses to open up the door?
Oh, so now you just want the sonic device to be used for everything?
To evaporate the water. Why? But I'm just saying, like, when there's more than enough ways for them to write themselves out of that.
The only ways that they wrote themselves out of it were using the device that you hate people when they use to write out of things. Well, I'm just
saying that I didn't say it was a great option. I'm just saying they had options. Hey, I don't write the show. But
do you want to write the show, Willie?
No. Unless it's my.
You can write Amy back in.
Well, one, unless I can write Amy back in, and two, unless it's my parody that he's in a van.
I don't think he needs to abduct anyone. I'd willingly go with him.
But anyway.
Well,
that's right. What I'm saying. It's not even fair. It's shooting fish in a fucking barrel. But anyways, okay, let's talk briefly before we wrap this up. Wow, yeah, we're hitting an hour already. Talk briefly about the preview for next week, which is bringing in someone that there's a lot of discussion on who she's actually playing, and I think people are really excited to see her outside of Game of Thrones.
The Red Wedding.
Maisie.
Yeah, Maisie Williams.
I'm super excited.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I'm super pumped for Vikings. That makes me really excited.
Space Vikings.
I'm excited for her. So. I'm pretty sure this is a two-parter again, is it not, Jinxie? I think so, yeah.
Yeah, 2 parts.
The one thing that slightly disappoints me, and I'm hoping the show avoids this, is I'm a little disappointed that they're using her in a medieval setting. Because I don't know if I knew that before.
Are you sure?
I don't think I knew that before. I didn't know what her arc was going to be, and it feels to me. I mean, they're
exactly.
Vikings. Like,
I mean, it's Space Vikings.
I mean,
yeah, Orient Express, like that took us out in the middle of the.
Vikings, but. Well, yeah, but okay. So for me, to compare this to Orient Express, that would be like having the actress who voiced Mulan show up in Orient Express. That's the first thing I thought of. I'm connecting. I'm not saying Maisie Williams is the only, like, she's not Viking, but I'm saying it's like typecasting. It's like, oh, we have this story that's like kind of like Game of Thrones. Let's have Maisie Williams.
Let's wait and see.
No, I know. I'm saying I'm not judging it yet. I'm just saying preemptively, I hope that they don't do that. I'm guessing we'll learn who she is, because the theory is that she has some previous relation with the Doctor, and no one knows quite what that is yet.
Well, first of all, just for
do you know,
record, Jamie Matheson is the person who's co-writing this with Moffat, and anyone realize it's weird that we say everyone's first name, but we call Steve Moffat Moffat? Anyway.
I mean that happens. I mean, it's no different than like
Tenant.
I mean, well, I was gonna say that like creators they sometimes get this nomenclature attached to them, like Matt and like for South Park, it's always Matt and Trey.
Yeah.
Like no one says Matt Stone and Trey Park. Like it's always just Matt and Trey. Like even though like Trey writes everything now, like.
But anyway.
Yeah, Spielberg.
Anyway,
like
this episode
Disney. Anyways,
is
go ahead.
it's written by him, who also wrote the Orient Express, which is why I kind of mentioned it. But there's a little. This is sort of a spoiler, but it's not really a spoiler for the plot. We've been given inklings that this is actually one of the 2 episodes potentially that the Doctor learns where he got his face from. So to add.
That's super familiar to Game of Thrones, actually. I won't say anything because we don't need spoilers for Game of Thrones in this podcast.
Yeah, I haven't watched the new season yet. That's a spoiler thing for me. But yeah, so I thought that's going to be interesting to look for.
Yeah. But people who have seen it, Maisie Williams and Faces.
Them. It's very strange. Carl, that kills people. If anyone got that reference, I hope so. Good.
I did not.
So, yeah.
But any other thoughts before we wrap it up for this week? And next week go to Space Viking Land?
I've got nothing.
Okay,
nope.
Cool. Well, thank you everyone for listening. We will be back next week. Thanks for and for joining us. Kind of 2 episodes relatively close back to back. So. Have a good week, and we will be back next week to talk more Doctor Who. Peace, guys.
Disney.
After Disney. Bye.